Here's a confession. When I was 7, I harbored a rather unusual obsession. Deep in the night, when my parents both slept, I would creep to the kitchen, find bottles, and neck 'em. The sauces, the syrups. Oh, how I loved it. Sneaking supplies from the back of the cupboard. A conqueror, plunderer, condiment pillager. My favourite thing to drink, it was vinegar. And glug, 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 I would secretly chug upon each of those bottles, guzzle them up. Yes, cooking oil was nasty. Tabasco was rough. But these were experiments, and I wasn't fussed. And with each one I sampled, I felt a bit braver, a little bit bolder as I necked them all down. But really my eye was on something much greater. A bottle that shimmered, brighter and pinker. The liquid within was so vibrant and loud. What I wanted was sat far off from the kitchen. The sweetest of visions. It was my dad's mouthwash. Oh, how it sat there, so shiny, so pink, from high on its throne looking down on the sink. Each night I would brush on my teeth and I'd wonder, what does it taste like? And asking my mother if tonight was the night that I could try some. She'd shake her head saying, oh, you're still much too young. Now, knowing the things I had secretly drunk, all these rules and concern seemed a little bit dumb. Oh, it's only for adults, mouthwash is dangerous. And look how my father, he'd carefully take it all, measured out in some small little cap. I would certainly swig on it braver than that. And so one fine night, I headed to bed, excited, elated, already quite proud, because tonight was the night I would do something great. Tonight was the night I was drinking that mouthwash. I had a small nap early that evening, so wide awake and my parents both sleeping. I crept out of bed, I crept to the door, I crept to the bathroom, looked up and saw that bottle. Oh goodness, how brightly it shone, as bright as the fleece that the Argonauts won, and the moon high above me, not making a sound. I climbed on the sink and pulling it down, I stood with it held in both of my hands. This was my moment. This was my chance. I undid the lid and tilting it up, I went glug, glug, glug. Oh, and it hurt and it stung. And I yelped and gasped as if in slow motion the bottle it dropped, and lashings of potion in great whopping arcs flew out. I stood stunned, the bottle then hitting the floor with a dong, and I dropped down too, tripping hands that were shaken. I grabbed for the bottle, held it dismayed. It was practically empty, down to the dregs. Most of it soaked in the bath mat instead. And my throat, it was stinging. My eyes were now brimming with tears. When they found out, I knew they'd be livid, because when I was a child, if you did something rotten, the punishment was that you got a smacked bottom. And I didn't want one. I wiped both my eyes and I tried to get what I could back up inside, but there wasn't much more than some drops to be found. So I picked up the bath mat, began squeezing it out, but now there were just some grey bits that had fallen in the bottle. There wasn't much there. What there was, it looked awful. Again the tears came, and I thought of my dad and the imminent burn on my bum of that smack. I was really in trouble. I was out for the count, but what if somehow I could make a new mouthwash? It just replaced what was lost with the same pinkish glow. I could balance it back. My dad wouldn't know. I looked around the bathroom, surveying the bottles and things. Of course, this is doable. I'll take some of these things and I'll mix them together. Who knows? Perhaps I could make something that tastes even better. So first off, I took toothpaste. You know, it's minty, it's fresh, it goes in your mouth. I picked up the tube, began squeezing it out, then I added some water, measured and thorough, eye drops for texture, cowpole for colour. And then I moved on to the rest of the bathroom. It got a bit weird. I added some shampoo and some shower gel too. It wasn't like it was planned. I really regretted the bit of bubble bath because it was now really bubbly and it still wasn't complete. So with things looking drastic, I added some bleach. And now, if I'm honest, it didn't look right. There were great big yellow blobs and even the pink bits looked a bit odd, but I found if I took it and shook it together, it looked kind of all right for a couple of seconds. So I shook it and balanced it, turned, and I scuttled on back to my bed. I hid under the covers, and for hours that night, I lay awake in my bed, knowing that when my dad drinks it, he'll drop down dead. And knowing the trouble I'd be in for owning up my head in this whir. I just wasn't sure which of those two things was worst, so I lay there and cried and I shivered and bored until suddenly it was sunlight. I woke up all sprawled on the floor and I turned and looked on with dread. My parents were stood at the end of the bed. "Mark, have you done something?" my father then asked. I could see the bottle held tight in his grasp. It was now sort of green with these yellow blobs too. So I cried out, "I'm sorry, Dad. I think I've just murdered you." "You've done what?" my dad said. "I've killed you," I babbled. They looked at me looking really quite baffled. "You've not killed him," my mum said. "Don't be ridiculous. This looks like some kind of poison. No way that he's drinking it. There. It's all right. There's no need to panic. Just tell us what happened." They were both understanding and they were both really kind. And they gave me a hug. And they said that they thought I'd been punished enough. So I saved up my pocket money and I paid for a replacement. My bottom went unsmacked. I'd somehow escaped it, reborn and forgiven, a true prodigal son. And I only ever stole condiments from that morning on.